Welcome everyone. So I'm Hendrik. I'm leading the data team at Tide, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of our journey with feature stores. So what are we going to talk about? So briefly, who is Tide? How did we start with ML at Tide? Where are we now? And what is next for us? So who is Tide? So we are a financial platform for really small businesses. So think of it as a Revolut or a Monzo, but for businesses only. So you can register your business through Tide and then do all of your financial needs directly through the platform. So first of all, the bank account, but then also invoicing, expense management, credit, and a variety of other services are directly available through one platform. I think one idea that really illustrates that well is this, what we call internally connectivity chains. So for example, you might be an architect, you buy some supplies, you pay with your Tide card, you then upload some receipt for that payment. We extract that information from that receipt, match it against the payment. We use that to fill in an invoice that you can send to your client in order to pay for this. The invoice might be against your client that might not be of good creditworthiness. So we identify that, automatically give you the option to buy some insurance against that. And then once your invoice is out, we make sure it's being chased so that you actually get payment. And once the payment comes in, we reconcile that directly against the payment as well. And I think from a data perspective, this is really, really exciting because all of these different processes generate a lot of data. And also there's a lot of different machine learning applications across the flow. So for example, the receipt information extraction is a machine learning application, creditworthiness identification, and the payment matching as well. So how did we get started with machine learning at Tide? Well, the very first application we had was actually from our onboarding flow. So trying to identify what are fraudulent or non-fraudulent companies, what are the companies that we could accept directly or not. So what are the problems that we faced when we investigated the current solution? Well, we saw that there wasn't like a data layer or wide data layer available in real time. So we had the data warehouse, which was having much lower freshness requirements. The system that was needed to be put in production was a mixture of both machine learning and rules. And then also, like a lot of what the existing system had, a lot of the deployments resulted in unexpected changes that were not great. So the ideas that we had is we should build a feature store to make the data available in real time, build out the feature layer such that it will not only serve this machine learning models, but it will also serve the rules layer. And finally, we wanted to have some shadowing functionality in place as well, in order to make sure that we can actually log different data points before they reach the live systems. So what we ended up building looked something like this. So we had different data producing services, all raising events onto a stream. Then we had stream processors that were looking at the different data sources one by one and computing parts of a feature vector. And then we had a central entity that was taking all these parts, kind of upserting that into a really large feature vector. And it had some kind of like awareness over when a feature vector would be completed, which would then be streamed out again into this object that was actually applying this machine learning and rules object to the full feature vector, which was then again being consumed by some kind of external service. The offline architecture at that point was completely separate. So this ran all against our data warehouse, and the whole training data pipeline was very much separated from the operational flow. So this is how we started. Since then, we discovered a number of problems. I listed 3 here. I really wish it would have only been 3. So the 3 that I want to point out was that we found a lot of issues around the streaming data not being available since the very beginning, but only since some point in time. So we needed to very much reconcile historical with streaming data. We also found that the training and production pipelines were were separate, completely separate, causing a number of bugs due to separate implementations, and the handover process between engineers who were working on the real-time pipelines as well and the data scientists working on the training pipelines caused a lot of delays as well. So we thought a lot about how to deal with this, and we thought about adding in additional features and looked at commercial solutions. And then in the end, we decided to go for Tecton. So how does Tecton actually help us with these three problems? So the first one is they make it very easy to have a Lambda type implementation where you can unite streaming data and batch sources. The second one is they give you some kind of contract of an entity, like for example, that unites streaming and batch sources, and you can write all your feature transformations against that, making any diversions in implementations very unlikely. And lastly, all of that is actually simple enough that data scientists can do that reasonably safely as well. And so how does our infrastructure look like at this point? So we again have the data producing services. We then enhance that with various external data sources, so think like credit rating agencies and so on. All of that data flows into Tecton. Tecton also connects to the data warehouse in order to make the streaming and batch aggregation. That data then flows into various feature services, prediction services, still applying these rules and machine learning systems to them, which are then being consumed by various downstream consumers. In terms of offline architecture, there was a major change as well, in the sense that the training data now could actually could be created using the same pipelines as were used for online serving. So you can see here that the Tecton was serving our real-time training data in the production environment as well. We made a number of other changes as well. As you can see, for example, we replaced our initial versioning with MLflow, but they are not really the main focus of this talk. So what's next for us? So really we see a lot of problems, but three again that I want to point out here. So the first one is that we still spend a lot of time building these production services. So something that we are looking at automating further. And the second one is on the monitoring side, we want to further standardize and expand our capabilities. So at the moment, what we're doing is very much use case dependent. And lastly, also on these external data integrations, we see at the moment they are very use case dependent, specifically on the freshness requirements, and something that we'd like to unify more, such that they're easier to reuse across different use cases. And with that, I touched on a lot of topics very, very quickly, which is, I think, in the spirit of this talk. If you have any further questions, please join in the discussions within Slack, reach out on LinkedIn or any other way. I'm always happy to discuss any of these issues with you directly.